Hey everybody, hi and welcome to the video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to essentially identify source schema changes in Glue. This is very important because a lot of time we have data warehouse and essentially data pipelines. Anytime the source schema changes, that means anytime the data type or the column name or a column is removed, a column is added, we want to identify these changes and alert the appropriate user that something has changed, so a person can go and fix in the ETL job, right? So let me show you a small demo. So again, this is part number 8, getting started, right? So I'm gonna take a very simple example for you, right? Assume you have a first name and a last name, right? A first name and an ID. You wrote your Glue ETL script, which is basically on these column names, and these are the data types. And after a while, let's say the data type of ID was changed to big int. Now that's a problem because there's a change in data type. We want to identify that change and essentially alert the user whenever that happens, and we want the Glue job to fail, right? So at the end, we want an alert something like this, right? Data type changes from ID string to a big int, right? We want to identify these changes. So how to do that? Let me show you in this video, okay? So the first thing I will do, just to show you, I'm gonna remove this Glue database and the table, and I'm gonna run the crawler, and then I'm gonna show you, okay? So let's wait. So again, the goal is to identify schema changes and essentially send an alert to the end user, right? Whenever that happens, so somebody can go and fix in that, mappings. So I'm gonna run the crawler. This should essentially create a new or essentially create a table in my Glue database, LearnDB, right? So I'm gonna wait here for this crawler to complete, and this might take about a minute or two. It's in the running state, as you can see, right? And by the way, a special thanks to the article over here, identifying source schema changes in AWS Glue. I have taken the code from here and I've essentially made an object-oriented code. Okay, so I'll leave the resource in the description. Again, all the prior videos are there on my GitHub section. As you can see, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part 7, and each video has its appropriate folder where you can find the code. This should be complete. This should be completed pretty soon. So let's see if I see the table. It's still running though, so might take a while. So I'm gonna wait. The crawler is still in the running state, and now it's in the stopping. And here you can see one table created, right? So first, as you can see here, let me refresh. Here you can see there's a table called sawmill data. So I have a, again, I took the code, I converted that into an object-oriented code, right? So it's easy to use. So over here, I create an instance of a class schema changes. It takes following attributes: an access ID, AWS access key, secret key, region, catalog ID. Catalog ID is essentially the account ID, right? So that's basically it, right? Database name as LearnDB and the table name as sawmill data. That is the table in my Glue catalog, right? Over here, as you can see. Now, something important I want to show you is basically, if you click here, click on over here, it might take a while to load this. So let's be patient here. Gonna refresh, click here, click on sawmill data, and hopefully the table should load shortly. Looks like we have an error. What I'll do is I'll simply refresh my AWS Glue console. Hopefully that should fix that. And here you can see that did fix it, okay? So now observe carefully on the top right hand side corner where it says version 0, right? So now I'm gonna run my script again. Just wanna show you what happens, okay? Just watch. So I should get something called all okay because there's no schema change here, right? Now observe what's gonna happen. I'm gonna manually change the schema, assuming that tomorrow either the data type changed or something was changed, right? I'm gonna change this string to a big int, and I'm gonna click on it and update schema. Okay, so now here you can see there's a change. Observe carefully, Glue automatically incremented the versions. If you go to version 0, ID was a string. And if you go to version 1, ID is a big int. So my newer version is version 1 and the older version is version 0. So I have something like this. So now I want to compare each particular stuff, and I want to identify what is added, what is removed, and what is changed. So this class does that, right? So since there is a change, right, this class has a method called isSchemaChange, which returns a status code of 200 or -1. Now, since there is a schema change, it's going to go to the else part, and then essentially it's going to send an alert. So let's observe that carefully. So I'm going to run this code. Here you can see there's a schema change identified in the table sawmill data in the database called LearnDB. Data type change for a column ID from string to big N. It did say that, right? If you go to an email, here you can see the user also received an email alert. That is absolutely great, right? That's what we expected. Now somebody has to go manually and fix this. So now this is, where the project manager will create a ticket. So somebody goes inside, they fix the mapping, assuming they made a change in the ETL or essentially the schema, right? So I'm gonna bring this back to string. Click on edit, click on update schema. So now I'm back to my original schema, right? So observe the version is again incremented, right? So I need to now prune or delete the older versions, right? So I have fixed it. Now I have a script called prune.py. Again, this is there in the lab number 8, okay? Again, same thing, I'm gonna give, excuse me. I'm gonna provide an access key, secret key, region, account ID, database name, and the table name. And then I'm gonna prune the older version. So I'm gonna run this file. Okay, so prune complete. And now if I run my original class, I should be getting something called all okay. So that the mapping is fixed now, right? If I run this, all okay. So here you can see how easily we were able to identify a change, basically change in schema, right? Essentially at the source. This is absolutely important because now based on the value that I receive from the class, as I said, there's a method called schema validator. It returns a status code of 200 or -1. If it is -1, I'm gonna raise an exception and I'm gonna essentially make sure my glue script stops and break. And of course, it's gonna send an alert to the people who are subscribed to the SNS topic. So now a ticket can be created and essentially a person can either fix the ETL mapping or essentially their Pyspark code, right? So again, these all two source code, basically the prune.py and the code to identify schema I have taken from that Amazon blog post, and I essentially made an object-oriented code. All the code resources are there in the folder called video number 8, which can be found on the GitHub section. And in the next part, now we are gonna take this code or take this scaffold and add this to our glue script that we essentially made in part 5 and 6, right? So now what we're gonna do in the next part, we're gonna run a glue job for the first time, it's gonna work. Then we're gonna manually change the schema. So hence the glue job will fail. We'll see that in action and essentially an email will be sent. Hey, something has changed, please go and fix it. So that is a demo rather of what we have seen in this video, right? So that's gonna be in the next video. I hope you enjoyed it. We also use this internally, this class, right? Because we also wanna identify what column was added or what column is removed. Is there a change in data type? If there is so, we stop the job right there and alert is broadcasted and a dev will essentially fix that. So that way, your downstream system won't mess up, right? So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed and hope you enjoyed the tutorials. And if you did enjoy these tutorials, let me know in the comment section. The source code can be found on the GitHub section under the folder known as video 8. Thank you so much, and I'll now see you in the next video, that is tutorial number 9.